Hi, welcome along to World Cup Daily, the show that discusses World Cup and transfer news, and it's finally here. Today is the day, the World Cup final, Germany versus Argentina. Massive, massive game, and it's here. After all these weeks of doing World Cup Daily, this is what it's finally boiled down to. Before I get into that game tonight, let's just talk about the third and fourth place playoff last night. Deservedly, Holland beating Brazil 3-0, another thrashing for Brazil. And I'll tell you what, it could have been worse because really and truly at the start of the game, Thiago Silva should have been sent off for a red card. He definitely pulled back Iron Robin, although Robin, as usual, made the most of it. But he definitely pulled him back. He's the last man. That's a red card. And if he would have went off at that stage, what would the scoreline have been? Probably we could have been looking at another 5 at least. So Brazil really out of the tournament with a whimper. Really, I feel embarrassed for their fans. I mean, disgrace on home soil. And even for me, as a football fan, as a lover of football, I've grown up always knowing Brazil as a team that, you know, for skills. I mean, you get clubs, fans singing that we're playing like Brazil. Well, I don't think you're going to hear many fans singing that nowadays because it's like they've completely changed their style. Where's all the flair gone? Where's all the skills? I mean, hitting all these long raking balls up front from David Luiz, who was, quite frankly, again, dreadful last night. I mean, £50 million for David Luiz. I mean, PSG must be looking at it now and thinking, what have we done? And Joe up front and also Fred. I put out a tweet last night and I stand by this. Nicholas Bentner is better than Joe and Fred. Definitely better than Joe and Fred up front for Brazil. And that's saying something. I would much rather have Nicholas Bentner. He's a much, much better player, not even close, than those two. And they're playing up front for Brazil. Brazil have got to go away and they've got to tear it all up and they've got to start all over again because they were dreadful. As for the Dutch, well done to them. Iron Robin, I think, has got to be a strong contender for the player of the tournament. He's just the difference. His pace, the way he runs at players, it's getting me excited for even watching Alexis Sanchez next season because, again, he's a player like that who will take the ball and run at players. And when you've got a player like that, you put defenders in trouble, no matter how many players mark him. And the Dutch last night fully deserved their 3-0 win. Van Gaal now goes to Manchester United. Let's hope he doesn't do as well for Man United as he's done for the Dutch because you've got to say he's done a really, really good job. But it's all about the final tonight. It's not about no third or fourth place or bronze medal. It's about winning the thing. It's about lifting up that trophy after all these weeks of trying to get there. And it's a heavyweight contest tonight. Argentina versus Germany. Argentina, who've been very defensive in this tournament and have sort of relied on the magician Lionel Messi to come up with the magic and turn games for them. I see them not changing their style at all tonight. It's going to be tight from them. They saw what the Germans done to Brazil in the last round, so they're going to be very defensive. Mascherano will play a huge role in that game, and they'll be relying on Messi to pull out the magic out of their hat, and he's going to get marked closely by the Germans, that's for sure. And then the Germans, of course, many of us Arsenal fans rooting for the Germans because of the Arsenal German contingent of Ozil, Podolski, and Mertesacker. Listen, the Germans, they've been the best team in the tournament. They've played the best football. They've had the flair. They've been really impressive. And it would be fitting if they won it, but that's not how it works in World Cup finals. It's who turns up on the day. And the Germans are such a strong team. And how good a season will it be for those Arsenal German players if they win that? I mean, they would have won the FA Cup, they would have gone to the Champions League and the World Cup all in one season. How good a season will that be for them? And it will mean as well that they'll come back to Arsenal with a spring in their step if they win that, because, you know, they'll be like world champions, and that is a major thing when you're a world champion in your given sport. So I really hope that Germany can do it for that Arsenal contingent, and it would be massive for them. Although they're going to come back pretty knackered, but it would be massive massive for them if they can come back with that silverware tonight. Massive game. I'll give you my prediction for that later on, although I've been trying not to do too many predictions after that Brazil one the other day. Let's get into Arsenal transfer news now. News floating around today that Arsenal are very interested in signing John Ruddy from Norwich City. It's a player that I've been saying for a little while that I'd love to see Arsenal sign. He's got Premier League experience. Of course, he was in the England squad until Roy Hodgson came in and decided to bring back his mate from West Brom. But John Ruddy was in the squad, and I think he's a very, very good goalkeeper, very experienced goalkeeper, and would be just the sort of goalkeeper to push Wojciech Szczesny for that #1 spot. So he is a player that's been strongly linked today. The price they're saying will be around about £7 million. Arsenal think that's not too bad. They were interested, of course, in David Marshall. What I understand, he was like the #1 target from Cardiff City, but Cardiff holding out for about 14, 15 million. There's no way Arsenal are going to pay that for a goalkeeper who's going to be the backup, especially with the calibre of goalkeepers that are out there at the moment. So John Ruddy's in the frame. Also, what I've been told, an ex-Arsenal player who is very, very, very close to the football club. He still works for the football club. Told a friend of mine that the #1 target actually for Arsenal is David Ospina, who's the Colombian goalkeeper. I think he plays for Levante. He's the #1 target. You saw him in the World Cup. He looked really good. Arsenal really, really interested in him. Apparently, he's the #1 keeper target that they'd like to bring him. But lots of other clubs are after him as well. And he may opt to go somewhere where he's going to be guaranteed to start. But John Ruddy, Arsenal definitely looking at. So we're going to have to wait and see what happens with that. Sami Khedira. Listen, it's all hotting up about Khedira. Of course, we're not going to know anything until after the World Cup. So until after today. I'm sure the player would have said to his agent and any parties connected that, listen, I don't want nothing being said. I want to concentrate on this World Cup final tonight, not on moves, not on anything else, which is a totally professional thing to do. So I think what's going to happen next week is news on that Sami Khedira deal is really going to hot up. And Arsenal are definitely interested. They're talking to Real Madrid. Apparently terms have been agreed. The player apparently is very, very interested in coming to Arsenal. It's what I've been told, if they could sort out personal terms, it's a deal that can happen. There's been advanced talks between Arsenal and Real Madrid. And if this happens, if Arsenal are able to pull off this deal, I mean, you've seen Khedira in the World Cup. He's been brilliant. He effectively had most of last season off because he got that quite bad injury. But he is a top world-class player again. More of a box-to-box midfielder than a holding midfielder. That's what I was being told by a friend who's a Real Madrid supporter. He said at Real Madrid, really the holding midfielders more Xavi Alonso than Khedira. Although we've seen Khedira playing for Germany in the World Cup, he has been doing that holding role. Although in the game against Brazil, he got forward just like everybody else, and why not? There's no point in holding. If Brazil leave himself so exposed, you may as well go and fill your boots. But he can play that holding midfielder role. He'd slot in perfectly because of the other Germans in the team, and it will be a magnificent signing for Arsenal if they're able to pull it off. But we will get more on that, I'm sure, next week once the World Cup is over. Another thing we're going to hear about next week is Matthew Debuchy. We're being told that it might happen on Monday or Tuesday of this week that he'll be unveiled as an Arsenal player. Right back position, as I've been saying all along, good signing, experienced right back, very, very quick, bombs up and down that wing, full of energy, and I think he'll be a good signing for Arsenal. We're going to hear about that one next week. That's already been done, and they should be unveiling Debuchy early next week at Arsenal Football Club. Just to get into my prediction for tonight, why do I do this to myself? I'm going to go for Germany. I'm going to go Germany 2, Argentina 1. I just fancy that the Germans, their confidence is up after that last round, but they're the sort of team that they're not going to make it go to their head. They're an efficient team, but not just German efficiency. They've now added superb skill, passing. I mean, they're just a brilliant, brilliant team, and I think it would be fitting if they won it tonight. So I'm going to go for Germany winning that tonight. But I think it'll be a very close game. It's not going to be like the Brazil game. Argentina got a rock-solid defence and a rock-solid midfield as well. And they do have players, let's not forget that. They do have players that will trouble Germany. Let's not forget that apart from Lionel Messi, they've got Aguero in that team as well. They've got Higuain, so they're a very, very dangerous team. And I'm really, really looking forward to that game tonight. Let's just get into a few of your comments. Jack Barnes says, I think that Debuchy would be a solid signing, but I really don't think he's worth 10 to 12 million. Oh, I think he is. I mean, remember, Debuchy is a French international, keeps Sagna out of the team, so he probably is worth around that sort of money. Jack Barnes says, I'm going for 2-0 to Germany. Jordan Jones says, I'm not impressed about Debuchy. I would prefer Carl Jenkinson to start over him. Well, I think Carl Jenkinson will get a chance to battle it out with Debuchy to see who starts. And I think that's what it's all about. As a professional footballer, playing in the Premier League, playing for a top club, there's always going to be big competition, and it's going to be how you step up to the plate. And that's what Carl is going to have to do next season. Mr. Andy 7378 says, hey, Robbie, I think we're really lacking in depth in our defence. If Vermaelen leaves, we won't have any centre-back backups unless you count De Giroud. We're not counting De Giroud. I'm sure they're going to move him on. And I'm sure plans will be in place that if Vermaelen goes, that they're going to have to bring in 2 centre-halves because, you know, or they're going to have to bring in a player who can play across the back, who can also cover centre-half, which is, of course, is what Vermaelen can do. He can play on the left side, and he can also play as a centre-half. Callum Dobson says, do you think Santi Cazorla will leave? The answer is no. I don't think Santi Cazorla will leave. He was asked that question several times yesterday, and sorry, the other night, and he said he's staying. Harry S says, Robbie, we were promised a standout striker. Although I'm pleased with Sanchez. Oh gosh, it just disappeared off my screen because so many of them are coming up. He says, although I'm pleased with Sanchez, we're still being linked with Remy. Don't we need a big Mandzukic? I don't think we need a player like Mandzukic because, as I said, too similar to Giroud. I would much rather go to Remy. Sadiq says, if we get Khedira, it shows that we really mean business this year and that Liverpool fans have been saying we lack ambition. Those fans make me laugh. Have you seen that advert, the BT Sports advert, that all these Liverpool fans getting excited about because they're showing the 5-1. It was 5-1. Well, let me remind Liverpool fans, we played you 3 times last season, yeah? 3 times. Twice in the league, once in the FA Cup. We beat you in the FA Cup, went on to win the FA Cup. We beat you at home, you beat us away. Yes, you did thrash us. We, you know, finished in the Champions League places. We won a trophy. You won nothing. And you've lost your best player. And the player that you wanted to replace him has come to Arsenal. So we know why you're feeling bitter. So enjoy the BT ad. Trust me, enjoy it. Because next season, we're going to be even stronger. Leon Kwan says, I haven't watched a lot of Sanchez videos. I'm not sure if he can score 30-plus goals a season. And I think that's what we need. Listen, there's not many players out there who you can guarantee they score 30 goals plus a season. And when you do find them, they're probably worth about £100 million. Listen, Sanchez, Arsenal, I don't think are going to be relying on one player to score 30 goals, but they're going to be relying on a front line that scores loads of goals. And if you put Sanchez in there, trust me, you have a very, very good chance of doing that. Joel Kalu says, Lovren from Southampton and Cher from Basel for centre-back. I don't know much about Cher from Basel. I know he's been talked up as a lot of players are being at this time of year. But Lovren looks a good signing, but would be a good signing. But that price tag I've seen of £20 million, no way. I just can't believe that. Jack Barnes says, any news on Ahmed Fafti? Listen, this is the right back. I forgot the club he plays for. Was it Al Ali? I'll probably pronounce that wrong. But apparently he's supposed to be having a trial at Arsenal. I haven't gotten any further news on that. Just that it's been reported over in the Middle East that he's having a trial. We're going to have to wait and see what happens with that and what implications that would have for Carl Jenkinson. Watto Play says, really don't want Debuchy. Much more important to get Remy and Khedira. Just as important to get Debuchy, mate, because we've got no right back apart from Carl Jenkinson. We need all positions. Zeresnay says, hey, Robbie, what about Griezmann? I know, you know what? I still think we should go and get Anton Griezmann. I know he's yet another midfielder, but he's a left-sided midfielder. He was brilliant, I thought, in the World Cup, and he looks a player that was slot right into Arsenal, and I hate to see him go to another club. And I know that Arsene Wenger must have connections there, and I was just thinking maybe part of that Sociedad deal where Arsenal gave them Vela, that they may have got some sort of guarantee that they were going to bring Griezmann in the other direction. But I don't know, so we're going to have to wait and see with that one. Y.O. Damon says, Winston Reid, top quality New Zealand international to Arsenal. I think that would be a great shout as well. Lewis Peterson says, why isn't the new third kit out yet? You know what? I don't actually know. I'm going to try and find out from Puma. The only thing I can assume, because they did, when I went to the launch, they displayed all three kits. The only thing I can think is that they want to launch like the first two, the home and away, and they're going to obviously launch the third one probably just at a slightly later date, get better traction out of it. But I'll try and find out for you and let you guys know on this show. Dick Patel says, haha, well said, Robbie. Liverpool getting excited over an advert. I don't understand it. It's an advert showing what you did last year, but you didn't actually win anything. But enjoy the moment. Enjoy the moment. LRPT1 says, I heard some rumours about Jackson Martinez for £30 million. That would be nice. I really would like to see what Jackson Martinez has made of. He scored a couple of good goals in the World Cup. Could be an option. Definitely could be an option for Arsenal. Listen, there's loads and loads and loads of more comments coming up, but really got to go now. Thanks for watching the show today. We've got one more World Cup Daily, which is going to be tomorrow, where we'll be talking about the outcome. Who has won the World Cup? The final World Cup Daily tomorrow. So make sure you tune in tomorrow morning about 8:30. But it's been a pleasure hosting this show throughout this whole World Cup. And this is the final tonight, the big one. And I just hope for the Arsenal players that play for Germany, I'm really rooting for Germany tonight. Hope that they win it. Hope that they can bring it home. And good luck to Mesut Ozil, to Per Mertesacker, and also to Lucas Podolski tonight. It's a big one. Going to enjoy this game. Argentina versus Germany. Going to be tight, but I'm going for the Germans 2-1.